In July of 2023, we had an epic road trip through the counties of East Sussex, West Sussex, and Kent. This video is the first vlog of that trip. Come along with us on a tour of one of our favorite castles ever in this video. And then be sure to subscribe to join us for the future stops on our tour of this historic, fascinating, and beautiful part of Britain. Good morning. We have just left Cheltenham on our big road trip for our anniversary. We are celebrating our 31st anniversary by going to a county that we've always wanted to visit, Kent, as well as Sussex. We are going to be checking out all kinds of things there. Now, we're only gone for 9 days, so we can't see everything, but we are really excited to see a lot of fun things we've been wanting to see for ages. So, first stop is Arundel Castle. There's a surprising number of ways to say that little word, so hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. If not, just let me know in the comments, and I apologize, but keep in mind, I'm doing my level best. Arundel is a beautiful little market town, and it's so fun to just drive in and see the castle off on the horizon. It looks like a good one. Here is the entrance to the castle grounds. Things are looking rather festive here in Arundel. Oh, I love the architecture. Lots of Tudor architecture here. We are starting our road trip through Kent, and our first stop is here in West Sussex to see the historic town of Arundel and the castle and gardens. And I am so chuffed that after days of gray, cloudy skies and rain, it's beautiful and blue skies now that we're finally out of the house and traveling. So we're excited to see this castle. This is a very impressive approach to a castle. That tower is amazing. Some castles are more castle-y than others, and this is a very castle-y castle. Let's see what castle-y things they have on offer in the gift shop. Crossbows are only £18, and a pig face helmet is a bargain at only £14.50. We enjoyed a light lunch at the Castle-y restaurant, including some very British coronation chicken in a salad bowl and some not very British Colombian mango juice. You can tell the ancient part of the castle because it's built out of this flint stone. And yes, I did say flint stone. Filming is not allowed inside the castle, so I will be sharing with you several still photos that I took while inside the castle keep, which is amazing in how they've set up all the rooms. It's really interesting. Now I'm standing out here on the top of the castle keep. It's very windy, but hopefully my expensive mic is doing its job. There we can see the River Arun that runs through the town. The outer wall and the dry moat. I always have to show you the castle potty, so here it is. The grill has been added for modern safety reasons, but you can see the little chute going out to the outside of the castle. And of course, lots of arrow slits everywhere around the castle. This is the British store here at the top of the keep, and its purpose was to allow people to pour boiling oil and throw rocks and other type of missiles on attacking enemy forces that were trying to enter the castle. And inside, we get to see how the portcullis and other defensive measures worked to protect the castle. The ancient part of the castle was surprisingly interesting to visit because the rooms had been filled with period furniture, costumes, weapons, and multimedia presentations to help visualize what life was like in the castle centuries ago. First, there is the guard room, set up as it would be in 1102 when the Earl of Arundel was in rebellion against King Henry, with weapons and heraldry of the 12th century. Then there is Empress Matilda's room from 1139. Matilda, also called Lady of the English, was the daughter of Henry I and returned to England with her half-brother Robert of Gloucester and a large group of knights. She intended to contest the English throne, as she was the only legitimate child of the late king. But her efforts were unsuccessful, as the crown was transferred to her cousin Stephen, which resulted in a 20-year civil war known as the Anarchy. The top floor shows the year 1643, when 1,000 soldiers loyal to King Charles were trapped in Arundel Castle by parliamentarian forces during the Civil War. This officer's room depicts the hardships endured during the 18-day siege. Another ancient part of the castle is St. Martin's Chapel at the top of the castle keep tower. It was built by Roger de Montgomery, who founded the Priory of St. Nicholas at Arundel. St. Martin was a popular saint with the royal families of Arundel, who were proud of their ability to defend themselves, because St. Martin was an officer in the Roman army, starting at age 15. As the legend goes, he was riding into a city on an icy winter night and saw a naked beggar shivering in the cold. He took off his huge cavalry cloak and cut it in half with his sword. He wrapped half around the beggar to save him from freezing to death. He later dreamed that the beggar was Jesus Christ and embraced Christianity. We have visited the grand homes of many dukes, but this one was next level, for many reasons we will share in this tour. For starters, the Duke of Norfolk has one of the largest private collections of historic documents in England, dating back to the 12th century. Henry, the 15th Duke of Norfolk, who lived until 1917, was a devout Roman Catholic who chose to build a Catholic cathedral in Arundel, and selected fellow Catholic Joseph Hansom to be the architect. Hansom also designed the Birmingham Town Hall, a place I share in our vlog of Brum. The cathedral is named after St. Philip Howard, who was the 13th Earl of Arundel. He was canonized as one of the 40 martyrs of England and Wales because, during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, he remained true to his Catholic faith despite being arrested and convicted of treason and spending the last decade of his life imprisoned in the Tower of London. As we progress through the residence, we visit the Armory, with an impressive collection of Victorian armor that is considered to be one of the finest in the country. This room boasts suits of armor which weigh about 60 pounds each, as well as crossbows, shields, and cannons. The private chapel was one of our favorite parts of the castle and is still used by the family. All of the present Duke and Duchess's children were baptized here. It is a splendid chapel built in the Victorian period around 1894, but inspired by mid-13th century architecture in Westminster Abbey and Lincoln Cathedral. The stained glass was stunning, but I was absolutely mesmerized by the soaring arches. Another breathtaking room in the castle is the Great Hall, known as Baron's Hall. This cavernous room is 40 meters long, 11 meters wide, and 15 meters tall. It was rebuilt in the 1890s on the site of the former medieval hall. The roof is made of oak from trees grown on the estate. The beams are similar to those at Penshurst Place, which is a castle we will share in an upcoming vlog on this road trip, so stay tuned. There are two massive hooded chimney pieces made of Painswick stone in the hall. Painswick is one of our favorite Cotswold towns, so that felt like a little piece of home. The stained glass windows depict the lives of the families who lived in the castle from the 11th to the 17th centuries. The furniture in the room is the best private collection of 16th century continental furniture in England. I also really enjoyed looking at this sedan chair and this sleigh type thing. I don't actually know what it is. The paintings in the room are too numerous to discuss in detail, but include such works as a portrait of King Charles I by Van Dyck. We thoroughly enjoyed visiting the other private rooms, such as the Canaletto Room, the Great Drawing Room, and this Victoria Room, a bedroom which contains a suite of furniture made especially for the visit of Queen Victoria and Prince Albert in 1846. The room has a portrait on the wall of Victoria at age 24. The library was one of Ian's favorite rooms. This room measures 34 meters long and 11 meters wide. It is considered to be the most important Gothic interior from the 1800s still in existence in England. It was refurnished for Victoria and Albert's visit and contains about 10,000 books. I spent ages in the picture gallery, which is 59 meters long and replete with large, impressive portraits of centuries of earls and dukes of Arundel and their wives. This throne was used at the coronation of Queen Victoria in 1838 and was presented to the 12th Duke of Norfolk by Queen Victoria. The dining room was stately and grand, and I just have to highlight one artifact in the room. The castle is filled with so many things like this, I can only mention a few. But this is a necklace worn by Mary, Queen of Scots. The tour also included a number of bedrooms, which are still in use by the family these days as guest rooms, and even this unique, rather vintage toilet. Lastly, we were fascinated by the displays which share the important role that the Dukes of Norfolk have held with the royal family. Planning for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II had been ongoing for many years, but the 18th Duke was the one who handled the final arrangement for the monarch's funeral in the 11 days between her death and the funeral on the 19th of September 2022. Then, in May of 2023, several weeks before our visit to Arundel, the Duke oversaw the coronation of King Charles III and Queen Camilla. The invitations to all the attendees of the coronation were sent by the Earl Marshal as directed by the King. Throughout the castle, you see mementos of the royal family, the Pope and other Roman Catholic leadership, and photos of the Duke's family, as well as images of the castle throughout the centuries. It is truly an epic and memorable castle tour.
Arundel is such a beautiful castle. So complete and so castle-y looking. I know that's a silly thing to say, but really, when you think of a beautiful castle, it's all the things that you see here at Arundel. This is the American ground.
There was a regiment of American troops who actually camped at this castle. So a decree made during the war by George VI, who was king at the time, that essentially all castle grounds had to be open to Allied troops. So an American regiment actually came and made camp on that field right there, all their provisions and stuff, and would actually come in for dinner with the Duke every night. So ever since then, that's just been called the American grounds.
And so they did that before Normandy?
Before Normandy, yes.
Okay.
Then they got chipped off.
Beautiful gardens. This is fascinating.
This is the organic kitchen garden.
This is the entrance to the Fitzalan Chapel through this white garden.
This beautiful perpendicular Gothic church on the edge of the castle garden is one of the most unique British churches we have ever visited. It was built in 1380 as a Roman Catholic collegiate church of the Holy Trinity, and the family from the castle would have worshipped here as well. But here's the interesting part. When Henry VIII had the dissolution of the monasteries, the Duke of Norfolk asked for this church, and the king basically said, "I'll sell half of it back to you." The agreement was that half of the church would stay Catholic and be used just by the family, being accessible only from the castle grounds. The other half, beyond this screen, would be Church of England and the local parish church, accessed outside the castle walls for use of the people of Arundel. This is the only church in England which is half Anglican and half Roman Catholic. Most of the Dukes of Norfolk are buried here, but the family these days doesn't use the church for their regular worship services. The private chapel in the castle is for that purpose. However, this Fitzalan Chapel is used for special services in remembrance of their ancestors, such as the week before our visit, when a special mass was held in honor of the 17th Duke, who is the father of the current Duke. This interesting tomb is from 1435 of John Fitzalan, the 7th Earl of Arundel, who died fighting the French. He was 6 feet 8 inches tall and died when he was only 28, but he had this image of his cadaver sculpted when he was still alive. This was meant to be a reminder that no matter how rich or prominent he was in life, in death he would be a decaying corpse just like everybody else. We have seen similar cadaver tombs in several English cathedrals we have visited. If you have seen a cadaver tomb, where was it? They are rather gruesome, but also fascinating, aren't they? Now we exit the castle grounds to go into the town of Arundel and try to visit the Anglican church beyond the screen. This is the priory inside the castle walls. The entrance for the townspeople into the parish church of St. Nicholas, I believe. And this is what the Anglican church looks like on the other side of the screen.
We visited the castle and now we're back in the car to give you a castle recap. Because despite the fact that the skies were blue and the weather was wonderful when we were wandering around the gardens, it started raining. It just started chucking it down. So we ran to the car. We're drenched. If you could see our trousers right now, we're just drenched.
Well, we're a lot better off than we would have been if the hotel hadn't lent us a brolly.
They did. They did. Thank you to the Swan Hotel for loaning us a brolly. But in the few seconds that we got in the car after the brolly, it was enough to drench us. But here we are in the car and we're going to give you our castle review. What did you think of Arundel Castle?
It was probably the best, maybe, castle I've ever visited. The library in this one was amazing. The Great Hall, the family chapel. Oh my goodness, the family chapel was spectacular. All the gardens were just gorgeous. It's a huge, huge castle, and yeah, it was amazing.
One thing that I've seen a lot in castles or stately homes is if they are still owner occupied, they'll have just a tiny little bit of some kind of staterooms that they'll show off. And then they'll say, don't take any photos or any photography or videography or anything. And they'll be really restrictive about it. And so, you know, for example, in Bamborough, it's a great castle to visit, but I didn't really feel like I was in a family home in the same way that I did here. It was very museum-y. Whereas this...
They're using the bedrooms.
They're using the bedrooms as guest rooms for family parties and weddings and things like that when people come visit. They're in use, like they were in use last weekend.
And there's a lot of personal effects lying around.
Right, and when we went in the study, the Duke's study, they said that the Duke was in there yesterday using it and it was closed to the public. So they're still in active use. They had memorabilia from the coronation, which just happened.
The Duke of Norfolk was in charge of sending out all the invitations for the coronation.
And and organizing.
He had to sign those.
Yeah, he organized the event and the Queen's funeral as well. So seeing that memorabilia for something that happened a month ago was really cool because you felt like you were really stepping into the current life of this really important Duke and his family. And the castle, I mean, those kind of turrets and towers, I don't often see that on a British castle. It's more almost a fairy tale castle. It was probably one of the most fairy tale castles I've seen.
There's a lot to see.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have spent double the time that we were in there, but our feet were aching by the end.
Yeah, I think we spent 3 or 4 hours there, and I was not expecting that at all. I was expecting to just kind of blow through a few staterooms that would be open to the public. So
Yeah.
it was really beautiful, very interesting. The chapel was so interesting. I mean, I didn't expect to walk into that chapel and find out that it's the only church in England that's half Catholic, half Anglican, and there's a screen that divides the two. I mean,
There's actually 4 churches involved with this castle. There's the private family chapel that was built in the 19th century, which is absolutely gorgeous.
which is inside the castle.
Which is, yeah, it's part of the castle. And then in the gardens of the castle, there's the church that has been divided in half. Henry VIII decreed it would be divided in half Catholic, half Protestant Church of England. And you can only access from within the castle grounds the Catholic side. You have to actually go into town and go down the road in town to be able to access the Church of England side. And then across the road from that, built in the 19th century, is another cathedral. I mean, it's...
the Catholic cathedral.
Yeah, the Catholic cathedral.
Big thumbs up for Arundel Castle.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Arundel really is a pretty picturesque place.
It's actually after 8 and things are very quiet here. This is the hotel where we're staying, the Swan.
I love all these little guard posts along the town wall and the Tudor buildings. And this lovely building with lots of flint stone is the town hall.
One last stop in Arundel at the Catholic Cathedral Church of Our Lady and St. Philip Howard. Before we enter, we have to get a Magenta Otter Tribe classic stone face photo with Ian. There were loads of beautiful sculptures on the exterior of this building and a large rose window visible, so we are excited to see the inside. The cathedral is celebrating its 150th anniversary, so special celebrations were ongoing. We most enjoyed the very tall stained glass windows, and this spectacular rose window, the magnificent pipe organ below it, and these stone carvings depicting the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, which lined the cathedral walls. We thoroughly recommend a visit to Arundel, not only because the castle is one of our all-time favorites, but also because the town, situated on the lovely River Arun and not far from the south coast, is a picturesque and historic place in its own right. The surrounding countryside is beautiful and a gateway to countless other sites of historic interest, which we will be sharing with you in our upcoming vlogs on this road trip through Sussex and Kent. Please check out a couple of our other favorite castle videos here in the meantime. Thanks so much for watching this video, and do something good in the world today.